Good afternoon to you. Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com, here with your Hurricane Outlook and discussion. Happy July 1st to you. This is the Friday edition, July 1st, 2016. Let's start off with a look at the sea surface temperature anomalies. And this is the chart from yesterday, updating twice weekly. Clearly, you can see the cold area here in the Pacific continues to grow. Interesting shape that it has to it. There's a phenomenon behind this. I'll talk about it another time, because it's a little hard to get into with everything else I have to talk about today. But it's interesting. You see these little sort of curls on there, and then these sort of dips. And so there's a reason behind that. And like I said, I'll talk about that a different time. Water temperatures off of Mexico a little warmer than they should be. Certainly has warmed up in this area as of late. If you remember from previous video discussions, there were speckles of blue through here. Well, that has filled in, and we have a pretty warm Pacific there, southeast Pacific overall. But the equatorial region down here, this is definitely filling in more with the cold anomalies. And then, of course, in the Atlantic Basin, the main development region here seems to be warmer than average, as does the Caribbean through the Gulf of Mexico. And then up here in the North Atlantic, colder than it should be. But you know what? If we go back and look at just the 1st of June until now, I've been comparing last year to this year. Well, this is just a month ago, or whatever, roughly a month ago. You notice down here, this was just starting to come in, and it was a little bit cooler through this area. So just watch these two regions as I go to the present. So here, July 1st, this is June 2nd, and July 1st. You can see clearly this is expanding, and this definitely warmed up compared to where it was in early June. So that is the basis for what I will talk about at the end here, and that's the updated forecast from Colorado State University. Also, a brand new subsurface anomalies chart from the Climate Prediction Center, centered around the 27th of June. And boy, this is really interesting. It really expanded since the last one, especially here in the eastern half of the equatorial Pacific region and the subsurface waters. The western Pacific still trying to hold on a little bit, but this really has come to the surface. Some impressive cold anomalies. This is trying to make inroads as well, and you don't see any large areas of subsurface warmth coming. So the La Nina, not official yet. There's a whole bunch of parameters that have to be met for how long the water temperatures have been below a certain threshold, and there's different ways of measuring it. Unfortunately, there's the Bureau of Meteorology looks at it one way from Australia, and the NOAA Climate Prediction Center has their way. And basically we're not there yet, but the stage is certainly still being set. So things are moving along right where we thought they would be. I don't see any major changes nor surprises right now. So let's look at the current situation. The Atlantic, very quiet. The eastern Pacific has a couple of areas to monitor here. One of them trying to develop out well to the southwest of, well, both of these are to the southwest of Mexico. But it's interesting, this one has only 4 out of 10 shot of developing over the next 5 days, whereas this one has much higher chance, 80% over the next 5 days. And it's this area right here, Invest Area 94E. Remember, Hurricane Center gives them a number, 90 through 99, for just sort of the investigation stage of things. When a suspect area of weather comes up, you investigate it, and they assign a number, and then the letter E for Eastern Pacific. And this would, I guess, be 95E. I'm not really worried about this. I'm not worried about either of these for land impact, but this is going to go on to develop, I think, and I'll show you why. So this is the hemispheric shot. I always like this. You can see a lot of energy now coming together out here in the Pacific, having a harder time getting going, more stable air and colder sea surface temperatures down here at the equator and just a little bit north of there, as I showed you on the other shot. But there is some pretty good low-level convergence and upper-level favorability going on here in the southeast Pacific, hence why we have these areas. In fact, let me just show you what this looks like when you add in the forecast areas, these cones that they draw in, if you will, or regions that these would expected to be traveling through over the next few days. And you can see everything remains well off the coast of Mexico, and it lines up very nicely. This would be 94E, and this is 95E, I guess that would be. Other than that, the rest of the tropical Pacific pretty quiet overall. No issues out near Hawaii. Looking at the Atlantic, you get a little better perspective of 94 sitting down here. Very large area of low pressure. Should consolidate and probably go on to become the season's first hurricane in the Pacific as it moves on out, staying away from Mexico. And you can see in the Atlantic Basin, things pretty quiet between Africa and the Lesser Antilles and elsewhere. Still sinking air for the most part. Saharan air layer somewhat in control. This is what that looks like. Rolling off Africa, pretty dominant here. Not so much to the west. It's dry enough, but I've seen worse, put it that way. And you see a lot of convection trying to pop over Africa as the intertropical convergence zone slowly migrates north over time, and we'll start to develop more of a monsoon trough pattern where the winds will reverse a little bit at the surface to about 5,000 feet, and you get this convergence going on, and in addition to what the intertropical convergence zone has, where the trade winds from the northern hemisphere meet the trades from the southern hemisphere, and you get this rising motion. You also need sort of this reversal of the wind, this monsoon trough to set up to really help jumpstart some of these tropical waves, and that's just not happening yet. It's July 1st. It's not supposed to happen, so really nothing to worry about in the Atlantic Basin. So let's go and look at the intensity guidance for invest area 94E. It says EP, Eastern Pacific 94. And you can see, the consensus here, it's straight up. Well, not straight up, but you get the idea. It's about a 47-degree angle or something like that. Almost to major hurricane status over the next several days. In fact, most of the guidance gets this to hurricane status in about 72 hours. And so that would be Tropical Storm Agatha when it develops, and then eventually probably Hurricane Agatha in the Eastern Pacific. But again, to emphasize, no problems for Mexico. Maybe if it reaches this intensity over here, some swells generated headed out towards the Mexican coastline could make for some good surfing, but we'll wait and see, and we can talk about that later. The track forecast, again, emphasizing no threat to the Baja and no threat to the resort areas of mainland Mexico here. Most of the guidance taking this out into the open waters of the Pacific, so that's good. All right, so Colorado State University, Dr. Phil Klotzbach, and his team introducing their latest July 1st update to the seasonal forecast. I think it's good to continue to tweak your data and your reports as new information comes in. Why not? Weather forecasts for your daily weather are certainly tweaked on the shifts from the National Weather Service. You don't just get a forecast that's issued at midnight and then that's it. As things change, the forecast changes. And the same can be said for longer term pattern recognition and larger scale features such as hurricanes. And like I've said before, and then I'll get off my soapbox about it, you gotta start somewhere. Remember, I don't know, I have to look it up, but it wasn't that long ago we only had a 3-day hurricane forecast for Atlantic hurricanes. Now we have a 5-day forecast, and within the next few years we're going to have a 7-day forecast. You had to start somewhere with that, and this, I think, is important because eventually I think the technology will be there to give us a better idea of which areas could be impacted, and it can help people prepare better. And it's probably still 10 to 15 years away, but you got to start somewhere. So here it is. I'll shut up about that. The latest information, remember April 1st, and all of this includes in the beginning Hurricane Alex, which was in January. I wish that didn't count because that's not during hurricane season. It was an anomaly, but whatever. It's part of the overall package. So they were thinking 13 named storms back in April, 6 hurricanes, 2 of them becoming intense. And as the time frame moved on, upped it by a storm in June, and we had Bonnie that formed. It's like all these things are messing with the overall idea. because we had Bonnie that happened before the season began, right at the end of May. And so here we are on July 1st, and the total amount of storms for the season would be 15, with 6 hurricanes forming, including Alex, and 2 of all of those hurricanes becoming Category 3 or higher. And this is where you can kind of encapsulate all of that. So from here forward, 11 more named storms, 5 hurricanes to go, and 2 Category 3 or higher, what we call major hurricanes. And the probability for major hurricane impact along the United States coastline listed here. And for the most part, everything is pretty much where it should be. Roughly 50-50 shot for the entire coastline, 30% chance for the U.S. East Coast, including Florida as a whole, even the peninsula, and then the Gulf Coast right around where it should be, plus or minus a point or two on the percentage side. So basically, nothing's changed. The anomalies here in the Atlantic warmed just a little bit. There's still some concern that this cold pool way up in the North Atlantic could still have a big influence. And we have the growing La Nina going on here. Still not La Nina yet, like I said. But, there's enough indications out there that suggest, as Dr. Klotzbach and his group talk about in the opening paragraph here, that the season should still be roughly near average. So, and that's important because even an average hurricane season could bring a lot of activity. And of course, the caveat here, and the old saying goes, it only takes one. I mean, you could have a tropical storm, 40-mile-an-hour winds in your area. You get a thunderstorm that goes up that has a downburst wind of 70 to 80 miles per hour, knocks a tree down on your house, and you personally have had a terrible hurricane season. I know it sounds cliche, but it's true. And I know people want to know where they're going to go, how strong are they going to be when they get there. We just don't know this early out. But there definitely are signs that it should be at least your garden variety average season, which compared to the last few, that's going to seem pretty busy, I would think, because we really haven't had much at all in the last few years. The last landfalling hurricane of any intensity in the United States was coming up on 2 years now, Hurricane Arthur along North Carolina's Outer Banks. And I will talk about that on Monday, because I'm going to introduce a new segment in the Outlook and Discussion series called, on Mondays, This Week in Hurricane History. No, there won't be any goofy music to go along with it and no fancy voice to announce it, but I think it'll be good to sort of talk about where we've come from in hurricane history. And I'll start off with Hurricane Arthur, because I was in the eye of that 2 years ago on the Outer Banks of North Carolina. So that'll be the first of the This Week in Hurricane History that I'll do each Monday when I do the Hurricane Outlook and Discussion. All right? Have a great weekend. Thanks for tuning in. I am Mark Sudduth for HurricaneTrack.com. Be safe out there. You got to tune in Monday and catch the This Week in Hurricane History, right? So really be careful out there if you're traveling. Be mindful of other drivers, downpours from tropical thunderstorms that we get this time of year. We want you back to be able to enjoy these videos and hopefully learn something in the future. All right? Again, Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll talk to you again on July 4th.